Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We are heading into episode 5. But before we get there, by the time this is posted, Jeanet's birthday will have happened. So, everyone wish her a happy birthday because it is tomorrow. So, we're recording this the day before. When it's up, it already will have been her birthday. Plus, a very important detail about Jeanet's channel, which is she's about to start Bad Omens.
Dumb bitch.
So, by the time this is up, Bad Omens will be up itself. So please go on over, hop on over there and watch that show because I think you will be thoroughly entertained by Jeanette's reactions to it.
We haven't been properly introduced. I'm Buffy, and you're history.
Quick and efficient.
Poor technique. Prioritizing subpar.
Giles, don't mention it. It was my pleasure to make the world safe for humanity again.
I'm not saying that your methods are without merit. It's you're expending too much time and energy. Hello.
But that is a bit boring, though.
He's also very distracting.
Oh, that's great. I kill him, you fence their stuff.
This vampire was just on a random kill, but it may be something else.
Something big?
Yes.
Interesting.
Sometimes I'm so grateful for Giles.
Oh, we love a good
And there
Buffy
will be a
book.
time of crisis.
Not
The
to
world
say.
hanging in the balance. The anointed. The master's great warrior. And the slayer will not know him, will not stop him. 5 will die. And from their ashes, the anointed shall rise. And one of the brethren shall go out hunting the night before and get himself killed.
Oh,
He
okay.
couldn't wait to finish his job before he ate.
We just
Uh-oh.
got that.
The anointed will be my greatest weapon against the slayer.
One strong.
Here endeth the lesson.
Oh, so good.
Symbol on the ring. I believe it's the rune for fidelity, but doesn't connect with any of the sects that I've studied.
Okay.
What about this? On the inside, it's a sun and 3 stars.
I don't think this represents any.
Right, it's right here. Sun and 3 stars.
She got it straight away.
Check these guys out. Told you it looked familiar.
The Order of Aurelius. Yes, you're right.
Ooh, 2 points for the Slayer, while the Watcher has yet to score.
Oh,
Owen, hi.
oh, great.
What do you want?
This is a school, and we have students, and they check out books, and then they learn things.
I was beginning to suspect that was a myth.
Dude, no one goes in there.
Dickinson.
She's good also.
Poetry.
He just waves his hand up there.
I love books. I mean, I really love books.
What's this?
Oh, not this one.
This one she doesn't love. She's quite a good poet. I mean, for
A girl?
for an American.
That was Owen.
Yes, I remember.
I actually
You
really
can look
like
up Emily Dickinson.
Emily Dickinson's poetry.
Buffy, well, the mere fact of you wanting to check out a book would be grounds for a national holiday. I think we should focus on the problem at hand.
He can brood for 40 minutes straight. I've clocked him. He was so nice.
Of course we can.
What did you guys have to talk about? Emily Dickinson. He reads Emily Dickinson?
I think it's kale, or possibly string cheese.
Or
So Buffy, how
hair.
did laying go last night?
Xander.
I mean, how'd the laying go?
Probably.
Handle.
Ooh, look at Mr. Excitement.
Owen. He's all alone. Maybe somebody should sit with him.
Someone should.
Mm.
Look, an empty seat.
Oh, wait.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Boy, Cordelia's hips are wider than I thought.
Oh.
Owen, a bunch of us are loitering at the Bronze tonight. You there?
Who else going?
Well, I'm gonna be there.
Who else?
Yeah.
You mean besides me?
Yeah.
Buffy.
No. She doesn't like fun.
How about we meet there at 8?
She does.
Really, he's not interested in you
Yeah.
at all.
8.
Tell her.
I'm afraid it's very big.
Thank you. Wait, what are you talking about?
No.
What are you talking about?
Boys.
Guess what?
Yeah.
It says he will rise from the ashes of the five on the evening of the 1000th day after the advent of Septus,
Well, we'll be ready whenever it is.
which is tonight.
Tonight, okay.
Wait.
Not okay. It can't be tonight. But
I love
cute
it.
guy, teenager, post-pubescent fantasies.
This will just have to be put on
Oh,
hold.
Buffy.
The dark forces are aligning against
You
us.
guys
We
are
have a chance to
still
beat them back.
pubescent though.
Tonight, we go into battle.
So
He
exciting.
gives that little
Perhaps I
speech and
miscalculated.
then nothing.
I'm thinking yes.
Is
But I
there
assume
more
I
than
don't
one
have to warn
graveyard
you
in
about the
Sunnydale that we might need to
hazards
be
of
concerned
becoming
about?
personally involved with someone who's unaware of
comment.
your unique condition. I was sure it was tonight.
You were right, but maybe just not about the where. No, maybe not.
I went on an airplane.
A pale horse emerged with death as its rider.
Oh, great.
Clearly uncomfortable.
You gotta sit down, okay? Are you willing to stand with the righteous?
He's sitting. Oh, great. Wait. No, don't get out of the car.
Over to
You all right?
Yes. Back away.
Can you move?
Oh, that's sound.
Mm.
Okay, that's one. Two.
He's more Owen.
Sure, he's got a certain Owenosity, but that's not hard to find.
It's very Owen.
A lot of guys read. I can read.
Can you?
You.
My watch broke, and we don't have any clocks in our house, and so I didn't know what time it was or even what day it was.
I thought I was the only one that happened to. How about we
Oh, Owen.
Tonight? You and me.
It's good that she has 1 week.
Look at his watch.
They drink, they start.
Hey, how's it going?
All right.
So
That's great.
happy.
I see we're still working on that anointed one problem. That'll probably take a few days, right? I mean, that's one obscure prophecy. It's so good. I will see you tomorrow then. Bye.
She is the strangest girl.
Yes. But also actually
Everything is in
not.
place. When they kill her, give your own lives, but do not fail to bring the anointed.
No, I just said I'm intrigued because this, like,
Okay.
whether or not
Do I
this
want to
works out
appear
for
shy,
the
coy, and
master
naive,
will,
or
in my opinion,
unrestrained,
determine
insatiable, and
the
aggressive?
You know,
direction
Owen
of the
is a
rest
little
of the
homespun. He probably doesn't
season.
like that overly assertive look.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, hey.
That's Giles.
We need to talk.
Buffy's not home.
No.
My calculations may not have been as far off as I thought.
5 die in van accident?
Out of the ashes of five shall rise the one.
The way I understood it, like one would rise. I didn't think of the possibility of it being like one of the people who died. I don't know why. It seems obvious now, but I thought it would be a different person being anointed by the death of the five.
This is the 90s, the 1990s in point of fact, and I can do both. Clark Kent has a job. I just want to go on a date. And look, I won't go far, okay? If the apocalypse comes, beat me.
Really famous gift and moment from the show.
Yes, and you'll face a pretty hefty fine in the morning.
Well, bye.
Oh, he's gone. He's gonna be all right. He's like super librarian, you know? Everyone forgets Willow.
No, Willow, trust your gut, please.
Because Janet it's the whole skill of him, liking Buffy, and obviously he's going to be jealous, but he's not thinking clearly. But Willow's like, Giles could be in trouble. Maybe we do that. And
Owen, look at you here, all alone.
Yes, because Buffy's invisible.
Oh, you are so good to help the needy.
Cordelia, Owen, and I would like to be alone right now, and for that to happen,
you need to go
you would
away.
have to go somewhere that's away
Oh, this is not gonna go well.
Giles, why would you do this knowing the Slayer is not there? Oh, Giles.
The fact that you're nervous is making me nervous. Like,
I...
um,
Giles, run.
well, at least we know he's not gonna be the anointed one. That like that's one cross. Did you maybe bring two? Is there even a point to locking the door?
It gives you a few seconds. On form of time, so yeah.
That's more effective. But can't they just rip the door
the chair
off
right
its
underneath it so
hinges?
they can't not bring it down.
Frick!
Giles, it's us.
Oh,
Hello.
yay!
Goodness.
Oh, you're gonna lose it when you
Pick up the
see who
phone,
he approaches.
call 911. That boy is gonna need some serious oxygen after I'm through with him.
For you, Cordelia.
Angel.
Why is this happening to me?
Okay,
You
be
Serious
quickly
stuff.
cryptic so we can.
Be out there.
No, not you two.
Here you go.
Jealous he is. Did you see the way he looked at him?
Owen, this is Angel.
Oh, one word.
Hey.
Oh, one word.
Hey. So, where do you know Buffy from? Work. What's he doing here? I guess it's the same thing you're doing here.
Excuse me, what are any of you doing here?
Look, we gotta get to, we thought it'd be fun if we made this a double date.
I didn't know you guys were seeing each other.
Buffy, come on, you're usually so smart.
So we figured, hey, why fight it?
Because of the fun.
You guys need a code
We're
word
here
for
because of
trouble.
work.
That is very true,
Maybe we should
actually.
all go somewhere together. The Sunnydale Funeral Home.
I've always wanted to go there.
The funeral home.
She picked up on
Sounds
that.
kind of cool. Do you think we can all sneak in?
Finally,
She's the strangest girl.
that's everyone's sentiment this episode.
That is true. Everyone's a
like,
bit like, she's a bit, unique.
Which way? The room's around back.
Like, if it wasn't Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I would think that would be the episode's title. The strangest girl.
Damn it. You can't be here.
Oh, and I suppose you guys are allowed? What are we doing here? Are we gonna see a dead
Oh
body?
no. No.
Guys, watch him.
Is she mad?
He's kind of working.
Yeah, and suddenly my theory about him becoming the thing is looking more plausible, which is not good.
Pull this room apart.
Those, but well done, Giles.
Oh, good.
What happened?
That was very
Two more of the
smart.
brethren came in here. They came after me. But I was more than a match for them.
Meaning,
I hid.
Yeah.
And the anointed may be long gone.
but he may not be.
We must find out.
I'm just glad
Okay,
the
I just need to get Owen and the
Gordon
others out of harm's way
shut,
first.
Owen?
because otherwise he
You
would be
brought a
stuck in
date.
there.
Tried the office here, but it's locked.
I mean, he needs to turn into a vampire, so obviously he has to be massive to start with. I have no idea, but my brain is stressing.
Okay with that assumption.
What?
I have to go now.
What if they come through the window?
It depends on where this is. That might not be windows.
Oh, maybe. People? They're in the room with the wrong people.
Do they usually move?
No.
No, they don't usually move. So if they're moving, I would run.
I have been judged.
I mean, I suppose you could look at it that way. Oh.
Oh no.
Uh-huh. Did I say?
Speed.
Let's
He is
kind of
risen in
go.
me. He fills my head with sorrow.
Ow.
Somebody's got out Buffy.
No, no, no. You should have held onto him tighter.
Why does he hurt me?
I'm assuming Jesus? Oh no, no, don't shove him into ashes, please, because then the new this is a problem. That was
Owen,
very
Owen.
effective. Oi!
Dead. He was found wanting.
I like none
The thing
of
you
this.
don't want to do is make Buffy angry.
Yes, is anger her.
You killed my date!
Your turn.
I know it's gonna lead to more problems, but let me just enjoy this moment. Oh my goodness.
Wasn't the brightest city that vampire?
That was hilarious.
Well, this is our stop.
Pull him away with force.
Hi.
Oh, he's and he's just watching.
I don't really know how to say this, but about last night,
You don't even have to. I'm sure you were pretty freaked out.
I was wondering when I could see you again.
That was my hopeful ear. Could you repeat that?
I never thought nearly getting killed would make me feel so alive.
I'm slightly concerned about you, but okay.
Absolutely. Walk downtown at 3 in the morning and pick a fight in a bar. How about tonight?
Oh no, you've awoken the adrenaline junkie in him.
Workable thing. Did I just say that? It's not you, it's me.
Right.
I hate that
Yeah.
thing.
And I was kind of hoping that
Just want to be friends.
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop. I really hope there isn't another shoe.
I was 10 years old when my father told me I was destined to be a watcher. He was one, and his mother before him. I had very definite plans about my future. I was going to be a fighter pilot.
Oh, that actually works somehow.
My father gave me a very tiresome speech about responsibility.
I really like the relationship.
Danger Man. You, Xander, Willow, you guys know the score. You're careful.
She's smart to be able to discern the difference.
Well, at least I did stop that prophecy thing from coming true.
You did. Handily. No more anointed one. Imagine the master, wherever he is having a fairly bad day himself.
I hope so, because otherwise it means the other shoe is...
The anointed and the slayer will not know him.
Oh.
Welcome, my friend.
Ah.
It was episode 5, and it was called Never Kill a Boy on the First Date.
Oh,
Very apt
wow, that's
title.
quite a long...
Yeah, it's very long,
quite
but
a
very
long
apt
title,
for
though.
this episode. What did you think of episode 5?
I really liked it. I still think which was my favorite in terms of just like everything about it.
Yeah.
But in terms of like progressing the plot forward and the twist at the end and everything like that, I really like that. And it's interesting because I realized when the master was saying the prophecy again that I'd completely dropped out the and she will never know him. Like I had assumed it had more meant like she will never realize it is him, not like she will physically never have gotten to know him before the transformation took place.
Well, that's what's very smart about it. It's one of those moments that once the episode ends and you have time to sit back about that moment, you go, this is what he meant, or at least this is what the direction was going in terms of the writers and the director, which I think is very clever, because technically even the vamp that she dusted, the red heron, she didn't technically meet him, until he was
Mm,
transformed in that moment. But
yeah.
bye bye to him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, I think it was pretty obvious from the start that it couldn't be him because he
Yeah.
was too obvious. But what I liked about it was the other red herrings that they placed, like the and he shall rise from the ashes, and then they
Yes.
made him die by fire. So it was like that's okay, but what if he is rising from the ashes, or his ashes are used to make someone else rise, or there was just so many different options on how this could play out, even after he'd been eliminated, that didn't necessarily eliminate the potential of a threat.
Yes. I also think with the ashes part, it doesn't have to be completely literal. Like, obviously, there were
Mm,
5 of them that died, and he arose from their death. And
yeah.
so he rose like a phoenix from the ashes. It's kind of how I took it. But it was interesting. I like that you didn't actually pick up on that happening, with the bus and all that, and you were in that moment, and you went, "Oh, I didn't think about that." Because obviously, for me,
Mm,
when I first watched it, I'm going by that. I
mm,
knew what was coming. Like when I saw that bus, I was like,
mm,
"Oh!" And I was a kid, and I was like, "Oh no!" And then I saw another kid, and being around the age of that kid, when I was watching Buffy, and I was like, "Oh no, they're going to kill a child," which is kind of a rare thing back then. And they really went for
yeah.
it. They were like, "We're actually going to kill this child, just so you know." And then we're going to shock you
Yeah.
at the end when you think, "Oh, okay, everything seems okay. They maybe killed the anointed one." No. Right at the end, the little shock with the master just bending down to the kid. Dun dun dun.
Mm. Yeah, no, I really like that. I don't know, for me there were so many different ways I could have interpreted it, which I think made it nice. Like, when a prophecy is too obvious.
Yeah.
So I feel like they really utilized the mystery surrounding how literal or non-literal it can be.
Well, I found it so vague. Like literally that whole
Mm,
part of it was so vague, which again is what you're pointing out is it could have been interpreted any way because it was so vague. It's like there were holes completely missing from what you were trying to decipher from it, which I really liked because Giles was trying to figure it out and he couldn't, and then we were trying to figure it out, and then you're like,
mm,
oh, this is what they meant, and that's so smart with the details, like how you picked up on physically her not seeing him, and you were like, oh, that now makes sense. Like I think it's so well done to throw you through these little hoops for you to guess and be like,
mm.
actually, the door you should have opened was not door 1 or 2, but door 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I think they play with audience expectation because in a way they've already trained us a little bit in terms of what we're expecting, like with the first episode and the second episode, the people who were introduced became very plot relevant. And
Yeah,
then, same with the third and fourth. So by the time that you get back to episode 5 and Owen is suddenly introduced and you haven't met him before, really,
mm.
he seems like he's going to be very plot relevant. And then they pull back and he's not. Like he
I
is, but
think,
he isn't really.
yeah, and I like that they brought back the master. So they were like, okay, by the way, this is one of the narratives that we want to make sure that you understand is going to continue. Because as soon as he's
Yeah.
back, we know something is awry and something's going to happen. But it's nice because it actually links in, of course, to the first 2 episodes because he was in that. And I think it's also because this is season 1 and it is very much a monster of the week. Like the truth of the matter is,
Mm.
I think this show created the title of the big bad. Shows didn't call
Oh.
things like that. So, you know, the Master's clearly someone to worry about. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got him now for 3 episodes out of the 5. But it's also, I think, something that was nice was kind of takes you away. So episode 3 and 4 are literally standalone episodes. Like you don't have to
Mm.
think about the first 2 episodes, and then they put you straight back into episode 1 or 2 with the Master reappearing. But again, he wasn't really a strong presence throughout the episode. He was just kind of lurking in the shadows here and there,
Mm.
if that makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
you're so focused on the Owen and Buffy storyline, and he kind of is in the background waiting for his moment to shine, and then right at the end, it's
Mm.
like, and here you go. This was the real plot of the episode. We just wanted to trick you into the romance side of it right now until you realized here's the master again, and he's winning right now in terms of what he wants to achieve.
Yeah. But it is kind of like an interesting thought though to me, because maybe this is a plot hole, maybe I shouldn't be looking into it.
No, look into it.
But it's interesting because would theoretically the prophecy was 5 shall die and 1 shall rise from the ashes. So if Buffy had not killed the vampire murderer guy who became a vampire, would he not have gained his full power? Would the kid that survived and became the anointed one not have gained his full power?
I think he would have, because he was turned already. The guy that was in the mortuary place, I think, was just again a red herring. So the kid had already been turned. It didn't say that others couldn't be turned and rise from, the 5 who were killed. I think he would have got his powers because he is the anointed one. So he probably arose before the other guy. Well, he did. He arose before the other guy because he was with the master. So he'd already been the first one to rise and gain his powers. So I
And then
don't
there's
think
also
I don't think he would have had any. I think he would have always had his powers. He was the choice. And also, you don't expect a kid. That's also a nice, I think, moment when you're watching this that you kind of go, "Oh, wait, that's the little boy," and you're like, "Oh no!" Like they killed his mom, the
yeah.
lady, the bus driver, and then he's
Yeah.
now just
And
a
what's
demon.
interesting, yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's interesting. He's not just a normal vampire. Like you put some contact lenses in that kid's eyes, and he could potentially still pass for a human.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
have the typical features, so that could be interesting as well, because Buffy's not expecting a non-vampire looking entity to be the thing that's going to be her obstacle.
I think that is so interesting as well. Is we saw in episode 1 with Darla, some vampires have the ability to control when they transform
That's
as
true.
well. So it's always interesting why the kid was chosen to not. We know why, obviously, but it's just an interesting point of his face is completely normal. You think it's a little boy, really and truly. He could just wander about at night, which would be kind of creepy, but he could wander about at night and no one's going to think too much of it. Not in this town where everyone seems to just, die. But yeah, I always found that interesting that some of the vampires have the ability to transform their face, because Darla was able to do that. I think she's so far the only vampire we've seen who's been able to do that as well, actually. Yeah, the
Yeah.
only one. So I wonder, in that case, is it how strong they are? Or is it just, I know like it's probably just, well, it costs too much for the actors in and out and do all the CGI, but also that none of the other vampires have been important, if that makes sense. I thought Luke was, but
Yeah.
Luke wasn't, like this
It,
vampire,
it
the brightest.
it might also be an IQ thing, because as you say,
Possibly,
like Luke
possibly.
wasn't the brightest, so you have to,
Or maybe it was
be
to show the ones that still in fan base are all about servitude. So they are just workers. Like if you think about like bees, like there's the queen, the worker bees, the soldiers, and the ones that can transform uh pose more of a threat to the
maybe,
show,
yeah.
to the storyline. Because obviously Darla did pose a threat. Like we could tell that she's strong.
Yeah, maybe it has to do with age, who knows? But
Probably.
then it wouldn't be the kid.
True. What did you think of Owen? Owen.
Um, he was all right.
Yeah, no, really,
Like
that is kind
I
of the best way to describe him is.
yeah. Like I wasn't so much intrigued by him as what he was in relation to Buffy, which I think, makes sense. But I really like the fact that, as she even pointed out, he would in 2 days in her world, and he would get himself killed. But I like the fact that the moment that he was like, oh, you're so cool and everything like that, but I kind of like you because of your Slayer side and not for just you as a person. She immediately kind of like wasn't interested anymore.
Yeah,
which
I
I
thought that was
think,
very mature.
yeah, and also it says a lot about her as a character, and I think it's very consistent to everything that we've seen and learned of her so far. So that was great. I did like the fact that we got to see her just being like a normal teenager for a bit, like making the bad decisions and then owning up to it at the end, like was what really just made it so much better as well. Like talking to Giles and being like, I messed up. It's like, no, we're gonna make mistakes. This is a learning process
Yeah.
for all of us.
I think that I think is for me a really good moment about or good moments about this episode is we just get to see her being a regular teenager, kind of, with her Slayer side here and there, you know, and the way Giles spoke to her, there was no blame, there was no making her feel guilty about the situation. He said we're all human, we make mistakes. But she learned from it very quickly, like you pointed out. And I think she's 100% correct. Because he got such an adrenaline rush and now he's one of those people that once they face danger, all they want to do is something dangerous to get that high. He really would get killed because he would jump into the fight or the fray, and then something's going to happen. At least Willow, Giles, and Xander usually are very cautious. Okay, Giles maybe shouldn't have gone by himself, but we also know Giles is capable of handling himself, or at least understanding like the dangers that could happen, and he's willing to face that and any repercussions from it.
Yeah, and I think there's also this, to me at least, it felt a little bit as if he was taking the fact that Buffy was like, Giles, I'm a normal teenager. Can you just let me breathe for a second? I thought he took it quite hard on himself, so he was like trying to almost lighten the burden by sorting this out himself. But obviously it didn't end up working out.
I thought there was also very important memes, gifs, etc. The whole "if the apocalypse comes, beep me" is a really famous one. And I've been waiting to use that, like as a gif for you, like when we're like talking to one another. Just there are really nice moments, like stuff like that, little pop culture references, moments that I really enjoy with this show. I actually found Xander really funny throughout this because of just how jealous he was and also how ridiculous he was. But also like little moments where he looked at Owen's watch and Owen had this really nice fancy watch that probably was his grandfather's because he's an old soul. And then he has Speedy Bird, Xander does, as his. I thought that was great to show Xander is quite immature. Like he has yet to mature, but Owen's also a kid. But
And also too like potentially too mature and unnecessary ways.
Yeah, he seems like as if he's taken some sort of burden on in his life, but in fact, he's just someone who likes to be at home and isn't really a people person. He's clearly very introverted. And I have to say, I really enjoyed watching this with you. I enjoyed it more that I was watching it with someone. I feel like this is an episode for me that you need to watch with someone. I am so up and down with this episode. There are times when I love it, and then there are times I'm like, it's okay. Like there wasn't much to it. But then I remember the anointed moment, and I'm like, that's a really good moment. And the whole, like I said, the apocalypse beat me stuff, and then nice use of comedy when Giles is being really, wait, you don't know when danger's next around the corner, and it kind of starts to zoom in his face, and then transitions into them both just sat there at the graveyard, nothing going on. Like there was moments, and that's why I think I really enjoyed watching it with you because I am quite in the middle with this. Sometimes I really, really like it. Like this time around, I really enjoyed it. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's a good episode, but I'm like, okay. But there are so many important moments, I think, like especially with the master, that you do have to take a step back, like me, and be like, actually, this is very clearly an important episode because now it's pushing the narrative forward, which I think at this point we need. Because next episode, we are at the halfway point already. So you do have to kind of go, oh, that's very smart. They understood 2 episodes for a monster of the week and then straight back into the plot because now you need to push it forward. You need to know where this season is going.
And I mean with story structure, you need like the midpoint does need a turning point, and this is what they gave us. So that's really good. I think it's just with in terms of rewatch value, if it's something that hinges on a twist at the end, like this one,
It's
I
not the
can
best.
understand why the second time viewing would not necessarily pack the same punch.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's where the humor and things like that saves it, is because humor is enjoyable, even the second time around if it's
Yeah, I
done
think
well.
I do agree with you that I do think the humor is what saves it for me, because I have to say, the first time I watched this, like this episode, like way back in the 90s, I never really gave an appreciation to Sarah Michelle Gellar's comedy. Obviously, now that I watch it back, realizing, because I know how funny Xander is, we know how funny Willow is, Cordelia, so we know how funny they are. They're clearly comedians, like comedy
Mm,
actors. With Sarah Michelle Gellar, you don't view that because Buffy can be like heavy in moments, and then she does something in
mm,
this episode, like when she's talking about Owen or when she's lying, and I'm like, Sarah Michelle Gellar really has a good knack for comedy, especially when she gets
mm,
flustered. So I really
yeah.
appreciate that from her, because things like her talking about Owen and how her voice would sound floaty and how she would just kind of
Yeah,
mention his name
that's a
so
good
many
way to
times in
say
one
it.
sentence, I thought was
Mm,
brilliant, because we got to see her be a 16-year-old, because obviously she has
mm,
so much on her shoulders. And then this was just kind of a typical teenager response to liking someone, and I really appreciate that. And also her kind of
mm,
fight with Cordelia, and the fact that Cordelia could not get one up on her no matter how much she tried.
yeah.
That
But
was brilliant.
also, for me, what a small moment that I really liked was at the start, where she was like, just Owen and his Owenness, and then like
Yeah, yeah.
Xander, without even missing a beat, is like, well, his Owenality might be a point, but and it was such a friendship thing to do, where you don't even care that the language is not a language, you're just languaging together. And
Well, you
it
understand one
works
another, that
so well.
communication works.
Yeah, and I love that, because it made it feel as if they'd been friends for a while already.
Yeah,
It
I
felt like
100% agree
people
with
who'd
that.
been spending a lot of time together.
Yeah, like you
So,
get to understand that the friendships are growing and that they are good friends, but then you remember, if you think back, well, they haven't been friends that long. Like, not that much time has actually passed, but they were able to communicate in that way where you do feel like you're talking to a friend and you understand
mm,
one another, even though technically Buffy wasn't really listening to him. She kind of was, because she was like responding, but
mm,
her head was in the clouds of love, or at least, shall I say,
yeah,
infatuation. Uh,
yeah.
what did you think of when Angel turned up and how Angel
Oh, I
reacted to
wanted to talk
everything?
about this. Because, like, it was so interesting. I'm still debating on whether or not he's a mystical being of some kind. But this is kind of like splitting me apart a little bit, because the jealousy that he showed was so like authentic, and it's not the kind of thing that you would expect a mythical being to just have at the ready,
Mm,
especially I think for the most part, because they haven't been spending that much time together. So you
true.
can't help but wonder, like, why is he already jealous? Like, why is he so attracted to Buffy that he would get involved enough to be jealous?
True,
Because
true.
with the mysteriousness of him up until this point, you would think he would try and keep a distance between them. So the fact that he allowed himself to feel jealous and show it so openly was very interesting.
I have to give props to David Boreanaz, who plays Angel in that moment, because
Mm.
there was things I never ever paid attention to until we watched it just now.
Oh,
Which was, I paid attention to this part, but there were other things, like I pointed out in the episode, but he's almost like a little bratty kid before Owen kind of turns up. Like, he responds to her in a very like, when you're kind of arguing with either a sibling or a friend and you're being a bit bratty or a bit
mm,
like annoyed with them. And then as soon as he saw Orion, he just looked him up and down. He put his shoulder on the banister. He leaned back to kind of peacock him and looked him up and down and stuff like that. And I never actually noticed that ever before. I may have noticed the banister part, but I didn't actually notice him looking him up and down. And
um,
I have to give it to David in that moment, because he did it so well for Angel, because I forgot that he gave her that tone, and then Owen turns up and he kind of checks him out, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Wait, you're on a date," and that was really, I thought, well done because it was something I've never picked up on, and I actually thought it for me it elevated that whole scene more than I've ever felt about it before. And I was like, "Oh, I actually like this scene because he's kind of being a bit bratty towards her, then he's jealous, then he's insecure, and then all of a sudden he's like he and then she kisses Owen and then leaves, and they're both like, she's a bit weird."
But what I quite like about it as well is the, to me at least, the difference with how Angel views Owen, like Owen and Buffy, versus how he views Xander and Buffy.
Xander and Buffy.
Because like Xander comes in, it's so clear that he's also jealous of Buffy, but like Angel just kind of breezes over him. He's like, "Oh, you're here too." But it's not really the same level of jealousy that he has with Owen. So he very clearly understands the different dynamics that's going on here and
Oh, I
who's
think he can
the
understand,
threat
yeah.
and who's not.
Well, yeah, and I think it helped that Buffy was on the date. You know, I think if Owen had just kind of been the friendship group to begin with, he probably would have treated him the way he treats Xander, which is, "Oh yeah, hi, yeah, cool, yeah, great to see you." But with the Owen, I thought it was great because it's like he sees Owen, he's like, "There's a threat." He sees Xander, he's like, "No, no," and it's really well done, especially because I wonder now would have been nice thinking back. Imagine if they had a moment where Xander said something there, but obviously he couldn't because they had to leave to go together to the. But it would have been kind of funny if you had all three of them in that moment because obviously Xander likes her, clearly Angel likes her, and then Owen likes her, and that would have been quite a funny moment to have them all together in that scene, especially the
Yeah, all
dynamic between them.
commiserating together.
Yeah, I think that would have been a good memory. It's only now that I think about it, but that scene really was elevated by those little micro things that I never noticed before. There are some things that when you watch a show, I don't know if you do this, but after I've watched a show, I tend to, I think you, well, I think we know I do this. I do tend to watch the backgrounds of things, and
Yeah.
and it was one of these times that I finally noticed those little moments, and I was like, that is actually brilliant directing from the director on this part because it just really elevated everything and set up how people work dynamically. And then, you know, and then we kind of just went straight into like the danger side of things. She's like, she's a good girl. And then what's the next scene? They're back at the cemetery, the mortuary. I was like, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. No, and like it was just, I don't know, it was very well done, and it just surprising to see a more human side of Angel coming out, because up until this point, I feel like he's been like, is he interested? Maybe not, maybe, I'm not sure. But that was like just a very clear, okay, no, that he is a person that might become
Yeah.
a romantic interest, because it's all been very Buffy sided when she seemed interested in him, and now it's like, oh no, there's actually potential return to affection of some sort.
That's a really good point, actually, which is another thing I think now that you put it in that context, which is why this episode is important because it's just set that kind of, well, this boundary between these two maybe is a bit different than you think it is. As you said, it is feeling as if it's more one-sided on Buffy because obviously we see her response to things like when she gets the jacket, and now we're actually seeing Angel's response to what things that Buffy does. As an audience, we can sit back and go, ah, okay, so there are feelings. He does reciprocate how she feels. It's just obviously they haven't reached that threshold beyond like liking one another. And it depends on when that happens, if that happens, like how they deal with stuff, because obviously she kind of just left with Owen, and that was all he, and you kind of like, hi Angel, here's your 3 minutes of screen time again.
I have to say, I kind of loved it when Owen was like, who's he? And or like, where do you guys know each other from? Work. Like,
work.
I don't know why that was so funny to me.
Especially because the look Buffy gives Angel, like, what? She's like, yeah, work. I guess you could call it work. I mean, she doesn't get paid.
No, I mean,
so what would you call it? An no, it's not an internship.
volunteering.
Volunteering. Yeah, she volunteers. I just like
It's
that
a
Angel
slayer
just
of the world.
turns up. Honestly, he kind of turns up and you're like, why are you here? Ah, I mean,
Yeah.
we missed you, but it's always interesting. It's like, here's your 3 to 5 minutes, make it count,
Mm.
and you're like, okay, he made it count, and then he's just not there again, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, that's brilliant, and it's also funny because you're like, didn't you do that in the last episode where you were just kind of here, like a
Fair.
second? But
Yeah.
yeah, so we
That's
spoke
not.
about Owen, we spoke about the episode. Anything else to discuss about the episode?
I think I think I've covered everything. I hope so.
Okay, so because we're at episode 5 and you have a good grasp of the characters, is there anyone you've had feelings about from the beginning that have changed? Is there characters you're liking more? Like, is there any characters you're more intrigued about now? Is there anyone you would like to have a centric episode about?
Um, not yet. Not like there hasn't been any massive change yet. Like I think all the feelings have just kind of intensified. So if I've felt a specific way about a character, it's just kind of grown stronger.
Yeah. Is
Um,
there anyone you're looking forward to having a centric episode or you hope has one if they have one this season?
I can tell you which one I'm hoping does not have a centric episode. Willow, because
Ah,
I
okay.
feel like I'm just gonna stress too much on her behalf. Um,
Oh, I have to bring that up. One of my favorite things doing this, I think why I enjoyed this episode so much, was making you nervous by going, "Oh no, don't do that, Giles. Oh no." Just because you were like, "You're making me nervous," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. I know what I'm doing in this
that's the
moment."
point.
Because I was gonna say to
Oh,
you, but it would have spoiled. I was like, "You might need
mm,
to grab a pillow," but I wasn't gonna tell you because then you knew something was coming. So I kind of was
yeah.
going, "Oh no," and then your anxieties were intensifying for the episode, and I was like,
Um, I would like a episode centered around Giles because I really like the fact that we got a little bit more about his backstory and realizing that it's not just the Slayer who had to
"Yeah."
give up her life at a very young age. Because
That
like
was
10 years old,
Yeah, and he said there was 2 jobs, like, what was it? Firefighter and grocer, and I was like, I don't think in the UK we
um,
would say a grocer. We would have said, like, worked in a supermarket or something like that.
I don't know, it was fighter jet pilot and something
Fighter
else.
jet
So
pilot,
fighter
that
jet
was it.
pilot and grocer probably.
Yeah, and grocer, and
Um,
I just found that so interesting because I was like, "That's definitely not a British word." Like, we obviously have grocers, but I don't
mm,
even think back when this was out, we would have said that.
mm,
It's a very rare thing, and Giles may be posh and stuff like that, but I know people posher than Giles, and they never would have said that. So I found that interesting just watching it back,
mm,
going, "That's clearly an Americanism," and you could tell, like, someone American wrote that.
mm,
But yeah,
yeah,
I agree with you. Hearing about that he was 10 and he said his father, but his grandmother was one as well. I really liked knowing
mm,
that watchers that the gender doesn't matter about a watcher. But the fact that he's the third generation for what he said, which may have gone back further than that. But that was so important
yeah.
that he was 10 when he found out.
It's
Like
so young.
just into double digits of your life.
Mm. And also, like, I feel as if because Giles is quite a crucial part of the group. I mean, every one of them are quite crucial in their own way, but it would be very interesting to see what the group has to like, how the group manages if he has to go to a watchers conference or
Mm,
something
mm,
like that. It would
mm.
be very interesting.
That's true.
Uh, so
Oh no, I agree with you 100%. That would actually be brilliant. Like, because it's one of those moments like, well, what do you do without Giles? What do you do without the adult in this
mm,
scenario? Because obviously they're the kids. Like, what happens? Thank you for
yeah,
watching, everyone. I think we had a
yeah.
thoroughly good enjoyment of this episode, and I hope you come back for episode 6. And once again, do not forget to go over to Jeanet's channel to watch Good Omens. Take care, everyone, and thank you for watching.